So this is chapter 1A on place value and decimals. In this chapter, we will learn the place value of numbers. Number 2, writing numbers in words and words to numbers. Number 3, ordering your decimals and whole numbers in order, and understanding the placement of decimals on a number line. So we're now going to go ahead and talk about the place value of numbers. So in the letter A, it's asking the question, what is the value of the 7? Now, when we look at the place value of numbers, we start off with ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands, and that's in front of the decimal. When we travel behind the decimal, it starts to go into tenths, hundreds, and thousands, and you know that it's behind the decimal because in words and pronunciation, we say the THS sound. If it's in front, we only say ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands versus hundreds, thousands, and tenths. So the value of the 7 in this case is right here in the tens place. So the value of the 7 is actually not just 7, it's 70 because it's in the tens place. And so in words we would write 70. So at this time, pause the video to complete B, C, and D, and when you're ready, push play again. Okay, so the value of the 4 represents 4,000. So you'd write down in words 4,000. The value of the 3 is 300ths. So to represent 300ths as a number, it's literally 3 hundredths, because the moment you go behind the decimal, it's representing fractions. So tenths represents 1 out of 10, hundredths represents 1 out of 100, and thousands represents 1 out of 1,000. The value of the 1 is in the thousands place. So just like I said, it's a 1 out of 1,000. 1,000ths. Now, we're going to talk about how we write out numbers in words and words to numbers. So, if we look at the first two, 245, 75.6, the way we say these in words is actually for letter I. We actually say it as 245. So we would write 200. Oh, let's excuse that for a second. We would write 245. For the next one, we would say 75 and 6/10, because the 6 is in the tenths place. Now, why don't you go ahead and pause the video at this time and try to do the rest. When you're ready, push play. In C, you would write 107 and 18 hundredths. In the next number, you would say 23 and 93 thousandths. And the reason we say 93 thousandths is because we see the number 93 and it's out of the thousands place. In the next problem, it says to write each of these numbers in figures. So you see the number 25, so you would write 25. 372, 372. 44 and 2/10. So you make sure that 2 is in the tenths place. 151 and 37 hundredths. So we have to make sure you write down the 37 and make sure it goes to the hundredths place. And how I do that too is I make sure I write out a 1 under the decimal and a 0 under each number until I get 100, and then I place a 37, so the 7 lands exactly over the last 0. It's another way to think about it. Now in this scale, we are ordering decimals and whole numbers in order. So we have to place a arrow between the two pairs of numbers here to demonstrate which one is bigger. So obviously in A, we know which one is bigger, which is the 78 versus the 34. So we want to eat that one, and that's why the brackets faces the open side. Now when it comes to numbers with decimals, what you need to do is just check if they, first of all, have the same number of numbers behind the decimal. Once they do, then it's easy to compare, because in that case, all you have to do is then stack them and decide which one is bigger. So if the first number, the whole number, is the same, then you need to look behind a decimal and compare and then see which one is bigger. Well, the 0.6 is bigger, so therefore it eats 34.6. Now D gets a little bit complicated because all of a sudden you have a number that only has 2 numbers behind decimal and one with 1 number behind the decimal. So again, like what I said, is you need to make sure that you stack your numbers until there's the same number of numbers behind a decimal. So I line up my decimals and I write my numbers, okay? And then I need to fill, you see how the second number only has 2 numbers and there's nothing underneath the top 4? So I'm going to fill it in with a 0 because it's okay to add zeros at the end of numbers at the end of decimals because it doesn't change the value. And then now I can make a comparison. In D, is 1.04 greater or is 1.40 greater? So if you think about it in terms of money, 1 franc 4 cents or 1 franc 40 cents, which one is better? So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and leave you to try to do these on your own. So go ahead and pause and complete both exercises 1 and 2. So in C, 0.54 is greater than 0.53. In D, since we already did this and notice that this is the same thing as saying 140 is much greater. Now in this one, 0.345 versus 0.4, well that's not fair. I can't compare that. So let's fill it in and compare. So 345 versus 400, which is greater, 0.4. So don't be misled just because one number has more numbers initially. You have to make sure you stack the numbers and add until you can actually compare them fairly. So that means you have to do the same thing in number 2. So in number 2, if we look closely, this number right here, 9.021 has the most digits. So we have to make sure that we stack all the numbers so that it looks like that. So let's go ahead and take 9.1, 9.02, and keep in mind I'm lining up my decimals. 9.11, 9.021 I already wrote, and then 9.03. Okay, so now we can fill it in to make a better comparison. 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so now every number has 3 numbers behind the decimal. So now I can actually finally put these in order. Since they all have the same whole number, I just have to look at the number behind the decimal to help me determine which is greater. So I'm really looking at 21, 100, 20, 110, and 30. So the smallest one is 9.020, and then 9.021, and then 9.030, and then 9.100, and then 9.110. And then at this point you can get rid of those zeros and just write it as 9.02, 9.03, 9.0, 9.1, 9.11. And there you go. That's your numbers in order. Finally, the last skill is decimals on number lines. So it's like using a ruler. If this is 9 centimeters and this is 10 centimeters, and there are 10 little lines or cut into tenths all the way down to the 10, what would this measure be right here where the red arrow is? If you know what to do, go ahead and pause the video and find the missing number. If you're not sure what to do, go ahead and watch the first example. So if I know that they're split up into tens, this would be 9, and then 9.1, 9.2. So what do you think that arrow should be? Yeah, 9.3. Now on the next problem, since you go from 0.4 to 0.5, you basically just add a number behind the 4. So this next one becomes 5.41 and then 5.42. So keep going that pattern. And if you can figure that out, maybe you can figure out the last one. So at this time, pause. So just because we read this like a ruler, this first one is 9.3, because 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, or 9 and 3/10. That's a more formal way of saying it. And then here, we're reading between 5.4 and 5.5. So this is going to be 5.41, then 5.42. So if we keep going, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this will be 5.47, which is the same thing, saying 5 and 47 hundredths. In the last one, it's between 1.13 and 1.14. So again, we just have to add numbers in order from to the last number. So this one would be 1.131. This would be 1.132. So if we keep going, 3, this would be right here 1.134, or 1 and 134 thousandths. And that is it.